Well, a famous victory for Afghanistan over Australia in the T20 World Cup. I'm Menners. You're listening to the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. We're going to get into it all in a minute with Dan Liebke. But I do just want to point you to an interesting article I read on Cricinfo by Siddharth Monga, who explains how the Taliban uses cricket in Afghanistan to sports wash its politics. And it does use cricket to consolidate power within certain groups of the Afghanistan population. And so just remember that when we're talking about this game, like the broader context is that a lot of people are suffering in Afghanistan, women in particular, and people often people say to me on Twitter, why are you pointing this out now when we should be celebrating Afghanistan's performance? But the fact is, when the spotlight is on a team like Afghanistan at the moment, it's actually the most appropriate time to spotlight it. And I just want to start off. We're going to talk about all the cricket, but go to Cricinfo. Siddharth Monga's done a great article of outlining another way cricket is being used by the Taliban in a bad way to underline their diabolical policies. But now let me introduce my guest. A nice segue. Dan Liebke from Can't Bowl, Can't Throw, cricket writer. Welcome to Cricket Unfiltered. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good. That was a great game.
It was a great game. I know. Heavy start to the podcast. Great game of cricket.
Yeah. It was. For a while there, I thought, Afghanistan have done so well, but Maxwell's going to take it away from them again. And then no, they got hit. They just kept coming. They were amazing.
Exactly. So for those just catching up, Afghanistan batted first, made 6 for 148. Most of that was a 118-run opening partnership that went into the 16th over. And it was the first time ever in T20 cricket that Australia hasn't got a wicket within 13 overs of a T20 international. Then in reply, Australia was all out for 127. Glenn Maxwell, top scorer, 59 off 41 deliveries. Gulbadine, 4 for 20, was a star with the ball, as was Naveen Al-Haq, who took 3 for 20. Lots to talk about within the game, Dan, but I guess starting at the very beginning, Australia made a big team change. They left out Mitchell Starc and they brought in Ash Agar because it was a turning track in St. Vincent's. But my feeling is whenever you leave Mitch Starc out, it doesn't go well for Australia.
Well, they completely swapped him around too because Agar also took the first over. But Starc has a habit of taking a wicket in the first over, and Agar didn't quite manage that. He bowled a maiden, which still went for 5 runs somehow with byes and leg byes. But he didn't get a wicket, and that kind of set the tone because no Australian bowlers ended up getting a wicket for a very long time.
No, and it's exactly why you want a wicket-taking bowler in your 11 is because, maybe he breaks that partnership. We'll never know. But Agar, he did bowl well, 4 overs, none for 17. But I think just from a sort of theoretical point of view, like Australia's gone down this road before where they think Hazelwood and Cummins are a bit more dependable. And maybe they are, but it does take something unique from the attack, which is Stark's ability to just blow a game open. And these sort of games are crying out for players like Mitchell Starc. And I thought it was a poor decision. I think you had to choose between Hazelwood and Cummins if you wanted to play Agar. And I probably would have gone Cummins because he can bat.
Yeah. I mean, from a certain perspective, it's almost like Stark's the Maxwell of the bowling lineup. He doesn't always come off, but when he does, he wins you the game. It's a big call to leave him out, and it's harsh to say it backfired. Agar bowled well, didn't feel particularly well, but they missed something up the top of the order because, as you said, Afghanistan just got away. They couldn't stop them. They couldn't break that opening partnership.
Definitely, and then also Mitch Marshall won the toss and elected to bowl on a pitch that all World Cup has been notoriously difficult to chase on. And we know that Afghanistan are littered with great spinners who can turn the screws as well as their fast bowlers who did a lot of the damage, ironically. But Australia knew that they'd be up against it if Afghanistan got a defendable total. So I don't even think we got that part of the game right. We should have batted first, runs on the board, and backed ourselves with Zampa and Agar to defend it.
Yeah, I'm not as strong on that. I think, they've been successful chasing. They like to be able to know what they're chasing and just head off in pursuit of that. See the other team brave the pitch first up and work from there. I don't think that was such a big deal. I think both teams really struggled at the back end. Like once once Afghanistan lost their first wicket, nobody could get started, and that was pretty much the pattern of the entire match. If you didn't get a start, then you didn't get runs.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think it's well if your tactic is we want to try and bowl first and blow Afghanistan away. It's even more of a reason to play Stark. So I mean, which was it from the Australians? So and you're right though. So the opening partnership was 118, but then they only made another 30 runs in the next sort of 4 and a bit overs and lost 6 wickets. Now, as a man, I listened to your podcast, Can't Bowl, Can't Throw, with the lovely Cat, and you do like to sort of take a humorous angle of cricket games. There was a lot of humorous moments for Australia in the field. Now, a few of them was Agar being outfoxed on the boundary twice. One skidded onto him and he parried it for 4. The other one spun off the outfield and totally wrong foot him. And then David Warner dropped a catch, which would have given Pat Cummins a double hat trick.
A double hat trick, yeah. Well, I guess Cummins got a double hat trick in a different context, because this was, of course, his second in as many matches, which means, of course, he's on a hat trick now, for a hat trick of hat tricks for the game against India. So we'll look forward to seeing if he can pull that off.
The irony of this hat trick was in the first hat trick, he didn't know he was on a hat trick, and it felt like on this hat trick, no one covering the game knew he was on a hat trick. I don't think the TV picked it up. I don't think the radio didn't. I didn't either. But he knew. He knew he was on a hat trick. He celebrated more than he did for the hat trick in the last game against Bangladesh.
Yeah. I'm surprised he celebrated at all. They're a bit ho-hum for him now.
And then it is peak Pat Cummins, isn't it, to just waltz in and take 2 hat tricks in a row with that, flash those pearly whites and beautiful blue eyes. So that's the 5th time an Australian has taken a T20 hat trick. Nathan Ellis, Ash Agar, Brett Lee have taken 1 each, and now Pat Cummins has 2. So he's trumped all of them in 2 games.
Classic Cummins fashion.
Absolutely, and it's the 3rd T20 World Cup hat trick by an Aussie. As you say, can he make it a hat trick of hat tricks? But then
I'm backing him in.
Yeah, I'm backing him in too against India. But then, so next ball, I was awake to this. I thought we might see 4 and 4 here because they're slogging. He's bowling well. And so ball goes to Warner in the outfield, and Warner spilt what was a regulation catch, but the people at the ground made a point that it was windy and swirly and a bit harder than it looks. But still, 4 and 4, you don't get that opportunity very often.
No, you don't. And Warner, you expect Warner to take those catches. They did drop a lot of catches, though. 5, I think. Even one Tim David caught, he kind of looked up at the lights and feigned as if, I didn't see how fast that was coming. It almost hit me in the head. So I don't know what their problem was, because Afghanistan had no problem taking their catches. They took a few screamers in the end there.
Absolutely. So there was some funny moments as well. Matt Wade missed the stumping, my hero. That was sad. But I don't know if you saw, and it was described on BBC, and I quite liked it, as like Stoinis's flamingo style send off of Gurbaz, where he got one hand up and was just doing the little flamingo, and then got the second hand up.
Yeah, it was very. It was a new one, isn't it? It's not got like Brett Lee's chainsaw or anything. It's good to see Australia still willing to innovate in T20 cricket.
Afghanistan finished 6 for 148, and just a terrible performance for Australia in the field. And I guess I didn't get it out of the way at the top because it's too busy ripping apart the Taliban. But the context of this game was that India won overnight, so they have secured a semi-final spot. And had Australia won this,
mostly secured.
What do you mean?
Theoretically, if Australia beat India and by enough, and if Afghanistan beat Bangladesh by enough, theoretically India could still miss out.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad I've got you here. So theoretically, India have almost qualified.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to be saying
qualified.
Right. Okay. So it's all wide open. But the point is, Australia had it in their hands to qualify for the semi-final. Had they won, they would have been through, and India would have been through, and the next game would have been pretty much a dead rubber between Australia versus India. But now it will be a must-win game virtually must-win for Australia. But if Australia loses and Afghanistan loses to Bangladesh, but the run depends how badly Australia loses to India.
Yeah. Then
I'm
we got
right
net
under
run
it.
rates. Always good fun when we have to calculate net run rates.
So this is going to be fun for Aussie fans because this game is beginning at 12:30 a.m. Tuesday morning Australian time. So at like 3:30 or 4 a.m., I'm going to be like looking at net run rates and just seeing if Australia are through. It's going to be, and we're not even going to know if they're through because then Afghanistan and Bangladesh play later.
Yes. Yeah. I guess if they win and go ahead of India on net run rate, then they're through. But apart from that, yeah.
So Ben Horn made a good point in the Daily Telegraph that Australia played a night game tonight, which finished 1 a.m. local time in the West Indies, St Vincent or Arnisvale, I think it is, and then they go to play India basically not tomorrow morning, but the morning after, because India have all morning games to line up with their TV coverage. So Australia's going to have a very quick turnaround. And so very quickly, this World Cup has gone downhill for Australia in one poor evening.
Yeah, and it wasn't as if it was completely unexpected. I mean, the fielding was very reminiscent of their fielding against Scotland. So they've struggled a couple of times to put away, these weaker sides who you theoretically think they should be able to put away. So it wasn't completely out of the blue that this happened, but it was certainly not fully expected either. I woke up this morning thinking, they'll knock off Afghanistan and we'll just chill out. But Afghanistan were great.
Thought we were going to smash them. And then I guess as well, you add in the sort of drama around the broader context where there seems to be some acrimony from Rashid Khan, the captain, about Australia consistently cancelling series against the Afghanistan men's team. And also...
I have a chat to the Taliban, Rashid.
What was that?
I have a chat to the Taliban, Rashid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is, and I don't want to sound like it is a great story what these men have been able to achieve, but Siddharth made a good point. The broader message is more important than a few men's cricket careers. Anyway, with the 50 over World Cup as well, I still think there's a bit of a hangover from that with the Afghanistan team where they had Australia 7 for 90. Maxwell scored that 200. They had never beaten Australia in a game of cricket, and I think there was sort of, they wanted revenge for that loss.
Yeah. And they were spewing when Maxwell was out there, and Maxwell was just kept scoring runs, hitting sixes.
No, that would have been so good had he won it. It would have been so good if he won it for us.
and I thought he was going to for a long time there. I was annoyed that they didn't send Cummins out to join him just for the optics of it all. Play a bit more mind games with Afghanistan. They blew that possibility. And then he was out to a great catch, as I was saying before. Some really great Afghanistan catches. I think the Wade catch was a good one, and the one that got rid of the can't remember now. Agar, I think it was. Was it Agar?
Yeah, Gulbadine took that one as sort of cover, sort of diving away. Yeah. Very good. So catch.
Some really good low catches.
They outplayed Australia in every area with the bat, ball, and in the field. So there's absolutely no complaints about the win. Just sort of going into some of the details of the figures. Pat Cummins took a hat trick and 3 for 28. Zampa bowled excellently, 2 for 28. He's having a great World Cup. They were the best for Australia, but Agar's 4 overs, none for 17, very effective. With Australia's chase, so Travis Head was out for a duck on the third ball of the innings. Terrific ball from Naveen al-Haq that swung away from Head. He's having a bit of a spate of it's either a duck or more. But there's not usually in between from Heady at the moment.
No, he's very much if he survives the first few balls, I think if it's not swinging too much, or once he gets his eye in on the swing, if he survives a few early balls, then he's fine and away he goes. But you could definitely pick him up cheaply early.
And Mitch Marsh then came out to join Warner, and he was out for 12 off 9, just swinging it one off. Naveen al-Haq hit it straight up in the air. Australia was 2 down early, and then it was really, I think, I knew Australia was in trouble when Warner was out sweeping, caught by Noor Ahmed of Nabi for 3, and that had Australia 3 for 33 at the end of the power play, and we never really recovered. Apart from Maxwell, we never looked like winning.
Yeah, I think Warner was out the first ball, Nabi bowled, and and all these people came in, and you just thought Who came in and joined Maxwell for a while? Was it Stoinis?
Stoin made 11 off 17, but those two put on 39 and just steadied the ship for a little while.
And but everybody came in, and you can't. Every now and then I would think, oh well, they don't need that many. Like,
it's needed one partnership.
Exactly, and they just didn't get it. Nobody hung around with Maxwell. Then once Maxwell was gone, and Wade followed pretty quickly after, and that was it, really.
So Maxwell and Stoinis put on 39, and then Gulbadine got Stoinis with a really good ball that was a bit quicker and sort of jumped at Stoinis, and it cramped him up, and it ended up going on the top edge. Good catch running back. Then Tim David was out LBW to Gulbadine. A little bit unlucky. The ball swung in a lot and was given out by the on-field umpire, and on review was just clipping legs. So on another night that goes a different way. Matt Wade out for 5, Cummins for 3, Ashton Agar 2, and then Zampa and Hazelwood just tried to keep Australia's net run rate as best as it could, and they took it into the last over, but Zampa was caught it long on. He was the last player out for 9. And as I said before, Gulbadine 4 for 20, Naveen 3 for 20, took the bulk of the wickets.
It got a bit exciting at the end there, where with 7 balls remaining and they needed 25 to win or something, they checked and realised there was a no ball, and Hazelwood was just like, oh, all right, Hazelwood, hit a 6 off the free hit and at least make it interesting in the final over. But he missed it, as you'd expect from Hazelwood.
Yeah, and actually they made a point on the coverage that Rashid Khan, who's the skipper's fielding on the boundary for most of the innings. So you have these things where he's reviewing like shocking reviews, Marnus Labuschagne level reviews. He's like, oh yeah, we'll have a crack. And he's on the outfield, so it's easy to make a mistake, and there's not enough fielders outside the ring because he's so far from the action.
Yeah, that's very sloppy to not have enough fielders inside the ring. That's basic stuff. But Australia could have done with Labuschagne in the field today.
Well, I got a message. Definitely. Oh yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, go on. That catch he took in the Vitality Blast was incredible. I'm sponsored by Vitality now. I'm just on. I did get a message from Sam, good listener to the show, that said a Labuschagne or a Smith, more likely Smith, would have been great on a pitch like this, which is easy to say now, but just a bad night for Australia. I just think bad night. Shocking.
Yeah, I think I just think Afghanistan played better. They played the opening partnership was great. There weren't an enormous amount of chances missed by Australia. A couple of drop catches, but I just think Afghanistan were the better team by a long way, or at least 21 runs.
No, definitely. I mean, I think the 5 catches was just an indication of just we weren't on our game, and it's a shame JL's not still the coach, because I'd love a JL spray at the boys after that loss, just to
maybe you can zoom in for them.
Yeah, give them a Mad Menace. Bring Mad Menace to. But I just that's kind of the way this team has been going. It's been so easy up until this point. I mean, our only conundrum was whether we throw a game to knock out the Bombs. That's been the only dilemma. And I actually think that has put us off our game, because people say you should never throw a game. I actually think in hindsight, it's worse giving any advantage to England. Like, we're not programmed to do anything that ever favors England. So I actually think in some weird logic, it's gone against us. It's gone against our Aussie DNA not to throw that game. People say, oh, you got to play to win. Not if it gives England an advantage.
I have a theory that maybe they underperformed tonight against Afghanistan to say, see, we weren't doing anything underhanded against Scotland. This was, we
just can't catch. We just don't do fielding training anymore. Mac is just like, did you feel like doing some fielding training today? You don't feel like it? Well, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our wrap up of Australia versus Afghanistan. A famous win for Afghanistan by 21 runs. Their first ever victory over Australia in any format. I don't think we've played a test match against them yet, have we? No. So it would have been pretty hard.
Not going to happen in the near future either.
No, not if I've got anything to do with it. That's for sure. But if now it's all set up for Australia's next game. Dan explained it well. Just to round it out, explain the situation going into the last game for my very dumb listeners. Joking.
All right. Well, if Australia win and go past India on net run rate, then they're definitely in. If they win and don't go past India on net run rate, then they're reliant on Bangladesh at least not letting Afghanistan win by too much. On the other hand, if Australia lose to India, they're not necessarily out. It's theoretically possible that Bangladesh could beat Afghanistan, and then there'd be 3 teams on 2, and that would come down to net run rate. So yeah, there's all kinds of things. So this next game, who cares? Australia might win, Australia might lose, doesn't matter. We have to wait on Bangladesh via Afghanistan anyway.
Yeah, I can't
Who cares,
see. Yeah, I can't see Bangladesh beating Afghanistan, but
no.
you never know. You never know.
You never know.
All right, Dan. Well, thanks for joining me. Where can the listeners catch up with all your work, and how can they? I know you've got a great Substack. How can they get on that train?
Yeah, if you go to my website, that's liebcricket.com. That's LIEB cricket.com. That's got links to everything. So it's got links to my newsletter. It's got links to all the podcasts I do, links to all my books, links to everything. liebcricket.com, LIEB cricket.com.
Great stuff. Well, Dan, thanks for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into Cricket Unfiltered. And I'll be back after Australia.